Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. So I think when you're in your 20s, you think that you've got time. In your 30s, you're chasing the checklist. And that will depend very much on how you grew up, how you're programmed. What sort of values did your parents give to you? What does success mean in your family? What does that translate to? And then you hit your 40s and you start asking yourself deeper questions. So looking back at my own life, my 20s, my 30s, I think I had a great life, to be honest, but I was focused on the typical things like, chasing my career, building a family, buying a house. And it was all very much dictated by the values I got from my family and how they defined success. And I think the values that I got were quite similar to what you would see in this Western world typically, where success is quite a lot aligned with materialistic things as well. Living in a big house, having a nice car, having a good job. Then you're sort of considered successful, and especially on top of that, if you have your own family with kids and so on. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that kind of life or chasing those kind of goals if that is what you want to do. And it's hard to say when exactly it happened. I think for myself, it was a bit of a gradual shift that probably started already in my 30s and continued up until the 40s. And I think I started to feel that more and more the way I lived my life and so on was not completely aligned with my core values, I would say. And then I realized what's really important to me. And for me, in my heart, it's to make a positive impact in the world. And I think the biggest shift that I could probably notice since then is mostly on the work front. I worked for many years in the financial industry where very much focus is put on the idea of making more money and building wealth. And of course, there can be plenty of good reasons to do that. But I think this money pursuit per se stopped kind of interesting me. I wanted to do something more meaningful, something with more depth, something where I felt from my side that I could have a bigger impact in the world. So for me, it meant starting to look for opportunities to work more with topics like sustainability and making an impact in the world on that perspective. So looking at my situation today, I work for a company, a startup, where we focus on reducing the carbon emissions related to the real estate sector. And the truth is, I'm not making as much money as I did working in the financial industry, but on a day-to-day basis, I feel like I can make a positive impact. And I feel like I get a lot more out of that than just pursuing the money. So I think talking about this mindset shift that could happen for you, I think it's very much about trying to understand what your core values are, not the values that you got from your family. Don't care about what your parents think is success. Try to reflect upon what success means to you and what your core values are that you want to focus on. I believe strongly that if you can live a life where you're aligned with your core values and what is important to you, I'm convinced that you will live a more meaningful life. It's so easy, I think, to take life for granted and to forget that one day our story will end. We can't treat life like it's endless. We only get a certain amount of days, and we don't know when our story will end. The moment we have now, this one day, that's all we know for sure, this one breath. So we have to live each day, really live it with intention. And it's amazing just to be alive. We need to be grateful for the day that we get. Imagine if you stopped for a second and thought about that. I think perhaps if you've been in this situation already, or if you're about to come into this sort of mindset shift, I think it can also be associated with a lot of fear. And I think in many cases that's what's holding us back from aligning with those core values that perhaps we are somehow aware of. We know they are there, but we feel perhaps that the expectations from people around us, from our families, again coming back to how we were programmed and this idea of what they would expect from us, perhaps in some cases could hold us back from having the guts to align with those core values that we know are perhaps different from what they would expect. So I think managing to overcome that fear will be a big part in the process of realizing this mindset shift. If you don't manage to come over this fear, which is probably holding you back, then you will never manage to live a life which feels really meaningful to you. If you let the fear keep a hold on you, then you will continue to live a life according to other people's expectations. And there's a big risk then when you are in your 50s, 60s, 70s, or whenever you come to this realization that you will have a lot of regrets. You will regret that you didn't pursue the life that you knew that you should pursue. And I don't want you to have those regrets. It's so easy to take life for granted, especially when you are in your 20s and 30s and you're so caught up living this life. But as time passes, you start to realize that it will not last forever. And we can't treat life like it's endless. We only get a certain amount of days, and we don't know when our story will end. The moment we have now, this one day, that's all we really know that we get, this one breath. So we have to live each day, really live it, and live it with intention. So what I encourage you to do today is to just stop for a second and think about your life. What do you really want to do? What are your core values? How should you live your life to be aligned with those values and feel that each day is really lived with intention, with meaning? That's what I encourage you to do today. And please come back and share your reflections with me. I would love to hear about it. Have a great day. Thanks.